So we have a little bit of an angle change because I need some spooky books behind me. Why do I need spooky books behind me, you may ask? It's time for Becca's Spookoplothon. It's one of my favorite readathons to participate in. It's based on Becca's Spookopoly, where she would roll for her TBR. Last year was the first ever Spookoplothon, and this year she's continuing it again. I love the new board so much. There are some incredible prompts on there, and some that I am really excited to get, and some that I would like to avoid like the plague. I will leave Becca's announcement video down in the description box for you guys so that you can check it out, get a board for yourself. I am going to be doing it roll as you go style. So we're going to be aiming for 3 rolls in this vlog. I might continue on just depending on how much time I have, or if the board is not nice to me, we may end up with more books. There's some rules involving doubles and where you have to add books, and it's a little bit chaotic, but I think I'm ready. I cannot wait to get into reading all of the spooky Halloween reads. I've got a huge stack of possibilities, so let's just flip over and see what my first book is going to be. So this is the new board for Spookoplothon 2024. There's some great spaces on here. I don't really know what I want to hit. Most recent purchase would be fun. I'm avoiding chance cards and community shelf cards because they're scary. Spooky, I don't really want spoopy because I am not really a spoopy reader, so I'm not sure that I really want that one. I love like the Bram Stoker and all of those type of spaces. I do not have a fun character to mark me around the board, so we're just going to use a regular die. But I have my 2 die. I am ready to see what my first prompt is. Okay, so we got 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So for dice roulette, I have to roll 2 of these die, and each dot is going to represent 50 pages. So I count up how many dots and multiply that times 50, I think, and that's going to give me how many pages my book needs to be. I'm hoping that it's not too long. Like, I want a medium size number. I don't want to be too short, but I don't want to be too long either. Okay, that is an 8. So 8 is going to get me somewhere between 375 and 424 pages per Becca's chart. So I'm looking for a book that is between 375 and 424 pages. I think I can do that. That's a pretty good start. Like, I'm pretty happy with that roll. I think that I'm going to be able to pick pretty much anything. So let me go look at my spooky TBR and see what is close to that page count. Okay, so I have 2 options that I have found that both would work for this prompt. The first is Mistress of Lies, which is a new vampire-inspired romantasy that I've been dying to pick up. And the other one is the Invocations by Crystal Sullivan. This one is a young adult horror that I've heard has great vibes and is the perfect like fall read to get you into spooky season. So I think I'm gonna go with this one. I haven't read a young adult horror in a while, and I've just heard so many good things about this author in particular. I've heard pretty good things about this book overall, but definitely about this author. So I think I'm going to start with this one, and we're going to see if I can't get myself in the spooky mood. This thing is Insanity Kitty this morning. Okay, good morning. So I quickly wanted to tell you guys that I have gotten about, if I can pick up the book, 15% into the Invocations. This is about 2 different characters. The first one is Jude, I believe, and she is been cursed by a demon. And she's looking for a witch to help her break her curse. And then we also have, and she is a witch and she's trying to bring back her sister. I'm not sure how I feel about this one right now. I definitely think that this is vibes for the fall. I don't know, it just has that Halloween type vibe to it. It's a little choppy in the writing style, so I find myself not really being able to fully like settle into the writing itself. And I don't, like, things have happened, but I don't feel like anything's happened so far. So while I feel like the atmosphere is great and has the potential to be a really good story, I'm wondering if Crystal Sullivan and I's writing, like, it's not gonna vibe. I'm not really sure, but I'm only 15% of the way in, so I definitely am gonna continue on my way to work this morning. I'm hoping that as the story starts to pick up, the writing bothers me a little less. And it's not a bad writing style, it's just not, it's a little more choppy than I prefer, and for an audiobook, it's not as easy to like tell the characters apart because they both sound exactly the same. This book reads so fast, you guys. I am now 50% of the way into this, and I am enjoying it more than where we touched off last. I think that the characters are starting to feel a little bit more different and fleshed out. We did meet the third point of view, and I do like her addition into the point of view, although at this moment, all she's really like there for is kind of a plot device. I don't feel like she's doing a whole lot. I like the thought. I like what's going on in here. I like the murder mystery and I like the demon aspect. I told you guys the world building was good, but I'm just not fully like sucked into the characters or the story itself. And I think it's the writing style that's doing that a little bit. It's a very detached writing style, and while that helps with atmosphere, it's not really helping me love the characters. They just feel kind of one note. They don't feel like they have anything more to them other than the basic parts of the story that we've got. Like Jude is the rich girl that's been outcast and she's trying to be different, and Zara only wants to save her sister, and Amir is just this powerful witch that's never wanted all of this. So it just, they feel not like cliches, but just very one note characters. So I'm liking it. It's fine, but I'm just not completely sucked in, which is disappointing because I was expecting to be completely sucked in by the story, but unfortunately it's just not quite hitting exactly the way that I want it to. I don't really have anything else going on at the moment. I feel kind of boring. Wilder wants to play, so I should probably go take care of that. I think I'm going to finish the Invocations this morning on my way to work. I only have about an hour of it left, so we need to do a really quick roll and see what I'm going to get because I need to pick a new book while I'm at work today. Okay, so we left off on Dice Roulette, and we're going to see what we get. Free scroll, I do not want. Bone could be challenging, but it also could be fun. I don't really want Grady Hendrix, although I do have an option for this one if I decide to go with it. It's not exactly humorous, but I do have an option for it. Okay. Wilder, I can't see the die. That gave me a 9. So let's see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Pentacle. Okay, so we got Pentacle, which is to read a 5-star prediction, to read a book that you're excited for. I hate this prompt. I'm not very good at 5-star predictions. I don't know what I like to read. I don't know what I want to read. I don't know what I'm predicting to read. I did have a 5-star prediction from last month that I didn't get a chance to read, which is the sequel to An Ember in the Ashes, A Torch Against the Night, but I'm just not 100% sure if I'm feeling that one. I'm going to think on this one because I'm tired. I have not had coffee yet, so my brain is not fully firing on all cylinders. Once I decide what I'm going to read, I'll let you guys know, but first I probably should finish the Invocations. The pumpkin patch cold brew. Thank you. So I finished the Invocations and I think I'm going to give this a 3.5 star, which just didn't quite feel like it got to 4 stars. However, I do think that this is a good book. I think this is fun. I think that it is a great spooky fall read. There was just something about it that kept me from fully being immersed in the story, and I don't know what it was. I do think that the ending was a lot of fun. It was really strong. There was high action moments, but for the most part, all of the action was in the end, and I never connected to the characters enough to fully feel in it. So I think that that's the main reason, was that the plot was just pretty slow until we got toward the end. But the like demon aspect and the way that the witches worked and how they connected demons to their souls and all of this was a really cool magic system that I thought was different and fun. This is a young adult horror that I will be recommending. It had some good imagery. There were some disgusting moments in here that I think were very, very well written. So I will definitely be recommending this. I think that there was something about it that didn't hit well with me. But again, I'm not 100% sure. Like, this book overall was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, so I would still recommend it. And I wish that I had more as to why I feel the way that I did and had more reasoning and things that I could tell you about it so you could decide. But honestly, I just don't. This was fine. I just didn't connect to it. So that is that. And that is our first book down for Spookoplothon. Now we need to move on to our next book. And this morning I did a roll for you guys that ended up with Pentacle, which was Summon a New Favorite Book or Read a 5-Star Prediction. prediction. And you know that I'm not very good at those. Never have been. Avoid that prompt like the plague, but that's what we got, so that's what we're going with. I wanted to spend the day kind of thinking about what I was going to read and see what I was in the mood for when I finished the Invocations. I was considering a couple different options. The Wraith King was one that was high up on my list. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and it looks so good. And then also another option was the Reformatory, because I've heard, again, so many good things about that one. But I think what I'm in the mood for is We Used to Live Here. This could be a 5-star or it could be a 1-star. I don't foresee it be very much in between. It's been comped to things like House of Leaves, which I don't like. However, people that I trust and have similar-ish horror tastes to me have loved it and given it 4 and 5 stars. So I'm hoping that I fall into that camp. I've been anticipating this for forever. It's a book that's been so high up on my list of things that I wanted to read. I've heard there's great Easter eggs in this, and so I just need to read it. It's time. I need to read it, and I'm hoping it sets me into the spooky mood. It says, Get Out meets Parasite in this eerily haunting debut. 2 homeowners whose lives are turned upside down when the house's previous residents unexpectedly visit. That's all I want to know about it. I don't really want to go in knowing a ton about the plot, although I will tell you guys later when I've read a little bit more in case you're interested and you do want to know. But I'm ready. I'm so excited. I think this is going to fly by, and it'll mean that I get to do a roll very quickly. I'm about 60% into We Used to Live Here, and it is definitely interesting. There are some really weird things going on, and I have no clue exactly what it is. It's definitely like what is real and what is not real. Like, can you distinguish between the two? Who's the crazy one? I'm curious to see what's going on, because there's got to be a twist. Like, it can't be that straightforward. The writing is good, but I am feeling like the plot could stand to be a little bit better paced. There's some spots that really lulled, that felt a little too like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we talking about this? And then some spots that were like, okay, this is good. What's going on? At 60%, I don't really understand why people say this is the scariest thing they've ever read, though, which is kind of disappointing. But honestly, I feel that way about most books that people say are terrifying. So I think it's just a me thing. Things don't scare me as much when I read them as they do visually. So I think that's literally just me. But I'm excited to see how it ends. I know that it went from like a 4-star to a 5-star for a lot of people in the ending, and I know that it went from like a 4-star to a 2-star for a lot of people in the ending. So I'm excited to see what the ending actually does for me. Do I love it? Do I hate it? There's these mixed media things in here though, and I don't really understand them. That's part of my issue. And I know that people that don't love this said they have a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and a lot of it seems to be related to that mixed media. And I'm just like, what are they? Like, what's the point in this? How is this relating to the story? It seems like it relates in some parts, and then other parts I'm just like, what is going on? I'm hoping it comes full circle. I'm hoping all of my questions are answered. I get the House of Leaves vibes a little bit, just in the fact that it's kind of like, not convoluted, but you're not really supposed to understand what's going on, and Eve is kind of seemingly out of her head like Johnny was, although I don't think that those characters can be one-in-one comparisons at all. So we'll see. We're going to see how it continues to go. I've never seen Get Out, so I can't stand by that comparison. I know I really need to watch that movie. I just haven't done it yet. I'm going to go. I'm on my way to pick up dinner for me and Mom. She just had one of her other surgeries today or yesterday, so I'm going to go feed her dinner, and then I'm going to listen to some more of this and probably finish it on the way home. This is a super fast read. Finished We Used to Live Here, like literally just closed the book, and I'm trying to sort out my feelings on it at the moment. Where do I start with this? This is going to be hard to talk about without giving too much away, so I'm going to do my best to keep things very vague and try to explain my feelings at the same time. Part of this book felt like it was a little bit too slow, yet I flew through it and it was so easy to read. Like, I started this late last night, and I mean, it took me less than 24 hours to finish this book. I breezed through it. It held my attention for the entirety of it. I think that it was well written, and the creepy scenes were pretty creepy. Was this the scariest book I've ever read? No. It definitely had some creepy moments. I think that he did a really good job bringing in the tension and having the main character kind of descend from this meek person with no agency to becoming more agitated to being completely like the descent. It definitely like leaves you with a lot of questions. This book is intended to be ambiguous, especially in its ending. However, I feel like the ending actually like wrapped up in a way that I think was good for the book. My biggest issues with like the questions and not really knowing things actually is more toward the middle part of the book with some of the other things that are happening with the house. I'm like, okay, but why this? Why that? I'm trying to be very, very vague, but I do wish that I had a little bit more I don't really know how to describe it because it's not really world building. I don't need to know like exactly why. I just need there to be a little more tie-in. I think that that's it. I think some of these elements just felt like they were thrown in there to make things creepier or to make things more unsettled, but they didn't actually have any bearing on the plot as a whole. And that I think was my bigger issue. I want everything to have a purpose, even if it's not explained. So I think that that's a better way, not questions as to like getting things explained. With that being said, I do think that most of the elements in here were well done, but there's just something. So I think I'm gonna sit on my rating of this. I'm leaning toward a 4.5. I really enjoyed this, but there was just, like I said, one little I can't quite put my finger on it thing that may or may not allow me to give it a 5-star, but I really enjoyed it. I think that it is worth the read if you like horror books, if you like haunted house books, and you don't mind things to be a little bit more ambiguous, because this does not wrap up in a pretty bow. It just doesn't. But I knew that going in, and so I'm okay with that, even though normally I hate those kind of endings. Normally those are not my kind of ending, but in this case, I think that it works. So this is not a concrete kind of book. And in a lot of ways, that again, that's not my thing, but for a horror, I don't mind it as much. Anyway, this could be it's a 4.5, 5-star. I will let you guys know what I finally decide on later, but I'm excited to be able to do another roll. I'm hoping I'll have time for 2 more books. I know that I'll have time for at least 1, but I'm hoping to get another roll in because I just love rolling and seeing what prompt that I'm gonna get. I just want to keep rolling for forever, but that's not reasonable. So we're gonna have to cut it off at some point, but I'm excited to see what my next prompt's gonna be. Okay, so time for another Spookoplothon roll. Last time we left off on Pentacle, and so now we need to do another roll. I would love, like, we're starting to get into kind of the character spots, and I don't think that I want Ghostface. That's the one that's like a sound word in the title, which seems kind of hard. But Pulpit could be fun. I do want to avoid Bonfire, because that's to read a book you've been thinking of and hauling or have been putting off or scared of for whatever reason. And that sounds terrifying. And I don't really have any of those on my current like fall TBR because I want to read everything on that TBR. Let's just do a roll, and hopefully they are, as Becca would say, ever in my favor. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no. Okay. Let me see if I can come up with anything. Of course, we would land on the one thing that I said I did not want. The cat's crazy. I think I've decided that I'm going to be going with the Hollow Dead next. Of course, we've got to have a Darcy Coates this season at some point, maybe more than one Darcy. This is the 4th book in the Gravekeeper series, which is just a cozy good time. I think it'll really help me get into like the fall Halloween spirit. It's definitely got those kind of vibes. You've probably heard me pitch this a million times, but it is basically Ghost Whisperer in book form, and it's cozy, it's fun, and normally I'm not usually a cozy person, but these work for me for some reason. Obviously, we got Ghostface, which is to read a book with some kind of sound in the title. If you scream, he's gonna get you. So some kind of sound word. Things can sound hollow. I looked it up, and that is actually a definition on Google. So I think it counts, and this is what we're gonna go with. Okay, so I do have an update on the Hollow Dead, and I am flying through this book, you guys. It reads so fast. All of Darcy Coates' books do, but I feel like this series in particular just reads even faster than most of her books. It is the absolute perfect series for fall. It just feels, I don't know, it's extremely cozy. It's very small town, but it also has the ghost vibes. And I don't know, there's just something about it that with a little chill in the air, a little fog on the ground, it's perfect. And it's been really good today because we're waiting for a hurricane to hit actually, which means that it's been very like gloomy and just cloudy and a little bit rainy, the perfect atmosphere. This series is following Kira, and we open the first book with Kira running through the woods, running for her life. She has no memory, and she comes up upon this house, and there's a priest inside. And I believe it's within a graveyard. Anyway, she doesn't have any idea who she is. All she can remember is her name. He offers to let her stay overnight. She ends up staying for a lot longer than that, making friends in the town, and realizes that she can see ghosts. So she agrees to help restore the graveyard, and in the process, helps to cross over or at least bring peace to tortured spirits that remain here. So it is very Ghost Whisperer vibes. I've already told you guys that. But in a lot of ways, not just the ghost thing, but in the vibes that Ghost Whisperer gives, and it's perfect for this season. This book in particular is good, but we are starting to kind of lose the Monster of the Week ghost story type of thing, and now we're kind of getting into the meat of the plot of the series. And I like it, but I feel like I wish there was just a little bit more going on. Sometimes Darcy's books can be really repetitive, and I do want a little bit more depth. I like the found family aspect to this series. I think that it's entertaining, but I wouldn't say that this has like been my favorite of the series so far, but I'm still having a really good time with it. So I'm hoping that I can finish this tonight. That would be nice, because if I do, then I probably have time for at least one more roll, and I'm itching to do another roll. But I'm also really enjoying this, so I definitely want to savor the ending of it. The fifth and final book in the series comes out in February, I think. So this is almost a completed series. I want to say it's February. Would recommend if you're looking for something that's not necessarily a like typical cozy mystery, but you want still kind of a little bit of horror vibes, but you want that like cozy warm hug type of book, this series would be a great place to start with that. So, but it's been a very eventful day for me, so I am excited to just cozy up and do a little bit more reading tonight. So I have finished The Hollow Dead, and I liked it, but I sadly did not love it as much as I was hoping to. I think it's my second least favorite, mostly because it just loses some of the like ghost fun. It's more about like the overarching plot and kind of heist-ish, although not quite as fun as normal heist would be, but I miss the ghost. I miss the like trying to figure out what was keeping a ghost here and like more of the ghostly things, but I still enjoyed it. I don't know. There was something missing for me in this one. So I think I'm going to end up giving it a 3-star. It was fine, but then I needed to do another roll. So let's jump to what we got for that. Okay, so we left off last time on Ghostface. I don't think there's anything in particular that I'm aiming not to get. So let's just do our next roll and see what we end up with. A double 1. 1, 2. Okay, so that got us pole pick. When you get a double, you have a couple of different options. I think Becca said you could either roll again and try to find one book that fits 2 prompts, or you can try to fit 2 books into 1 prompt, or you can add a book. I don't think I really have time to add a book, and I don't want to like have 2 books, but I need something that's challenging because I rolled a double. So I think what I'm going to do is roll again, and that's Becca's preferred way I think of doing it, and see what we get, and then we're going to have to combine pole pick with something else. Of course I would get a double on my last roll. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A chance card? How do I do a pole pick and a chance card? Okay, these are my chance cards. What I think that I'm going to do is pick 3 chance cards, and then of those 3, I'm going to put up a poll for my patrons and let them decide what I'm going to read out of the 3. There are lots of different books on here. I don't even remember what most of these are anymore because I did it so long ago. But I know there are some books in here that I want to read and some that I am not super thrilled about reading. So let's see what our first one is. Murder Road by Simone St. James. This was one that I do not want to read. Then we have Clown in a Cornfield. Clown in a Cornfield 3 is what this one is, and I do want to read this one. And last but not least, we have The Familiar by Lee Bardugo, which is one that I don't really want to read. So we have two that I'm not super interested in reading and one that I do want to read. So I'm going to put it to a vote for the patrons, and I promise I will try not to sway them. Okay, so I got a double, which meant I had to combine a poll pick and a chance card, which was not ideal, but I drew 3 cards and then I gave my patrons the option between 3 books. I did do an emoji poll as to try and keep from swaying them toward a particular book, although I clearly had a winner in mind, and they came through for me and chose Clown in a Cornfield 3, The Church of Friendo. This is obviously the 3rd Clown in a Cornfield book. These are like young adult slashers that are very bloody and a lot of fun. This one I've heard is very different from the rest of them, that it is a little bit more adult and a lot more gruesome, which has me very excited. Honestly, I am here for that. But I've also not heard the best of reviews for it, so I'm hoping that I end up in the minority. Slashers and I sometimes get along and sometimes really don't, so it just depends on the book, but for the most part they're not my favorite, although I do like these. I do find these to be a lot of fun. So I started the Church of Friendo last night. Sorry if you can hear the coffee going in the background. It's very important for today. And I've only got about 50 pages in so far. I forgot pretty much everything from the last book. There are definitely things that are referenced that happened in book 2 about Quinn, and I vaguely remember, but I don't usually forget quite this bad. And I'm like, wait, what happened? So I am needing to do a little bit of a refresher on that. But as of right now, like, it's fine. There's not really a whole lot going on. We have had some pretty gruesome moments. There's been some fingers and some hands cut off. Other than that, I'm just kind of waiting for the plot to kick in. We have met kind of the church, but I'm just not really clear on how the church got there. Like, this place was a community and it had high school and all of this stuff, and then now it's got a mayor that was the mayor before, and then we've got a church come in, and I'm just a little bit confused about how everything's working, and I think maybe that's a me thing. So I'm going to continue reading, see if it starts to clear up a little bit, maybe find me a summary for last book. I'll check back in when I'm a little closer to halfway. I do think this is going to read incredibly fast and be a good, like, gory time, so it's got that going for it. Am I going to possibly maybe be DNFing Clown in a Cornfield 3? Yes, I might be. So I have gotten to about 35% of this book and I am just not having a good time, which is so sad. So basically, this one is the 3rd book in the series, and the 1st book in the series follows like Quinn and her friends, and there is a guy in a clown mask that think there's like a school party or carnival or something, and he just starts slashing everyone. It's a fun slasher time. This one, however, really is not following much from the first 2. We have one of the characters from the first 2 books, but then like nobody else really, and I think that's why I was so confused, is because I was like, wait, this one character's still here, but like I don't remember any of these other people. It's because they weren't there. And then it's like following this Church of Friendo, which is supposed to be this cult-like church. But honestly, so far, I'm not really getting much of the Church of Friendo kind of vibes. It's just like a church, and there's a guy that tells people they should do things, but I don't know, it's just not really making sense. And it kind of comes out of nowhere. And I asked other people, I was like, okay, for those of you that have read this book, did I miss something in the 2nd book that tells you why we have this church and why they settled here and what the heck is going on? And they're like, no, it just pops up out of nowhere. There's no lead in, there's no explanation, there's no anything. It's just there. And so the logic is really not great in this one. And on top of that, the church itself is not very interesting right now. And then we have Quinn, and she's off doing something, and there's a new character with her. I don't really know what she's doing. It just feels like it's jumping all over the place. There's all these new points of views, but we don't get any real introduction into the characters, and I just feel like it's chaotic and I'm not having a good time with it, and I'm really sad. I never thought that I would say this, but I miss the slashing. There's not enough slashing in this. There's been a couple of gory moments, but honestly, they feel like they were just there for the sake of adding gore. They didn't really seem to have any like impact. They didn't, I don't know, normally a slasher book, like you're slashing. That's kind of the point. And this just feels like, oh, well, we haven't had enough killing in this, or we haven't had enough gore in this, so let me just sprinkle a little bit in. And there really hasn't been as much of it at this point as I thought that there would be. So I'm kind of bored, honestly, and I feel like I should not be bored in a young adult horror book. So I'm gonna get to 50%. I'm 35% of the way through it right now, I think. And when I get to 50%, I will decide whether or not I'm going to continue reading it. But I am very sad because even though I did not I wasn't a 5-star girly for the first 2 books, I still enjoyed them. They were still fun. They were fast paced. And that's what I was expecting this book to be. And it's just not, unfortunately. So I don't know. Maybe I just need to get to the 50% mark. Maybe I just need to be in a different headspace. But unfortunately, a lot of people that I've talked to feel the same way. So I'm not anticipating changing my mind. But I want to get to halfway and just say I gave it the old college try. And then otherwise, we'll be wrapping up this Spookopoly vlog. So I sadly think I may be DNFing Clone in a Cornfield. I read about 40 more pages and I don't really care at the moment, and I want to care, I want to be all in, but I can't find the willpower to pick it up, and there are so many good books that I want to read this spooky season that I'm like, okay, I don't really need to devote my time to something I'm not interested in, so I think I am going to put it down, which means we have wrapped up my Spookopoly reading vlog. I love this readathon. I think that it is so much fun. I just love it. Motivates me to read more because I'm constantly rolling for things, and the prompts are always so different and entertaining. So thank you so much to Becca for doing it and organizing it again this year. I had so much fun, found a new book to love. Let me know if you guys are participating in Spookopoly and if you decided to do roll as you go or if you built a TBR around it. And if you just want to let me know that you were here and hanging out, of course leave me some kind of dice emoji in honor of Spookopoly. I will leave more reading vlogs here for you guys to check out, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!